Did you know that one of the world's most famous drinks was not created as a soft drink at all, but as a small medicinal syrup inside a local pharmacy? Pause for a moment and imagine that. A simple idea, a small beginning. No big factory, no global brand. Just a pharmacist experimenting with a formula. Welcome. Today I have something truly special for you. This is not just a story about a drink. It is a powerful business success story filled with failure, ambition, marketing genius, competition, controversy, and ultimate success. And while you listen, you will also improve your English. This is an English listening practice for beginners. You will learn English through storytelling, slowly, clearly, naturally. As we move through this story, you will discover how a struggling pharmacist accidentally created a billion-dollar brand. You will hear how Coca-Cola almost disappeared before it even began. You will understand how smart marketing and powerful advertising transformed a small product into a global empire. And you will learn about its biggest mistakes and its biggest failures. Because success is never a straight line. This is one of those English listening stories to improve English that teaches more than history. It teaches mindset. It teaches strategy. It teaches resilience. And at the same time, it helps you learn English in a natural and powerful way. As you follow this English listening story for beginners, I will explain everything in simple, clear, easy-to-understand language. This makes it perfect for English for beginners and intermediate learners who want real English learning practice. While you listen carefully, you will improve your understanding. You will discover new vocabulary. You will notice sentence structures. You will practice pronunciation. So stay with me until the very end. Because this story is not only about Coca-Cola. It is about vision. It is about persistence. It is about starting small and dreaming big. It is about how you can turn your own dreams into reality, no matter how small you begin. Now, take a slow, deep breath. Relax your shoulders, open your mind, and let's begin the journey of one of the most famous brands in the world, Coca-Cola. Our story begins in the year 1886 in Atlanta. Inside a small laboratory filled with glass bottles and the quiet smell of chemicals, a man named John Stith Pemberton was searching for something more than profit. He was not a businessman. He was a pharmacist, a scientist, a war veteran, a man carrying pain, both physical and emotional. He had fought in the American Civil War. He had been badly injured. To survive the pain, he relied on morphine, a powerful drug. But slowly, the medicine became a prison. He was addicted. And so, he made a decision. Instead of surrendering to addiction, he would fight it with knowledge, with chemistry, with experimentation. Pemberton began working with plant extracts. He wanted to create a tonic, a health drink, something that could give energy, cure headaches, and improve mood. His early formula contained coca leaves from South America. At that time, they legally contained cocaine. He also added cola nuts, rich in caffeine, giving energy and alertness. And there was one more ingredient, wine. The drink was first called Pemberton's French wine Coca. It was marketed as a medicinal beverage. People drank it. They felt energized, refreshed, uplifted. But then, everything changed. In 1886, Atlanta passed a law banning alcohol. Suddenly, his formula was illegal. His creation could not survive in its current form. He faced a choice: give up or reinvent. He removed the wine. He returned to his laboratory. He experimented again. Long hours, quiet nights, uncertainty in the air. And then, by accident, something unexpected happened. One day, his syrup was mixed with carbonated water instead of plain water. Bubbles rose to the surface. They danced. The taste was different, brighter, more exciting. When he tasted it, he was shocked. It was not just medicine anymore. It was delicious. He carried his new creation to Jacob's Pharmacy, a small local drugstore. He asked them to sell it. They agreed. It was served at the soda fountain for 5 cents per glass. No grand opening, no global vision, no idea. That history had just shifted. That quiet moment in a small pharmacy was the birth of the drink we now know as Coca-Cola. A drink born from pain, from failure, from reinvention. And the journey was only just beginning. Pemberton was not alone on this journey. Beside him stood his bookkeeper, a man named Frank M. Robinson. He was more than a numbers man, more than someone who calculated profit and loss. He had vision. He understood something powerful: perception. One quiet day, he looked at the formula and said gently, "The two main ingredients are coca, from coca leaves, and cola, from cola nuts. We should call it Coca-Cola." He paused. It sounds catchy, strong, memorable. And he was right. But Robinson did not stop there. He picked up a pen, and slowly, carefully, he wrote the name, Coca-Cola, in a flowing, elegant script. Curved letters, confident lines, beautiful balance. That handwriting became the logo. And more than a century later, that same script still represents Coca-Cola all around the world. Even in the beginning, branding was everything. Now listen carefully. Pemberton had created a remarkable drink. But he was not a businessman. He did not understand scaling. He did not understand distribution. He did not understand capital structure. He was sick. He was tired. He was struggling financially. Instead of expanding the business, he began selling small shares to different investors. Piece by piece, slowly, he gave away control. One of those investors was a man named Asa Candler. Candler was observant, strategic, ambitious. He saw potential that Pemberton could not see. Eventually, Pemberton sold the formula for just $2,300. A small amount for something that would later become priceless. It was a decision that changed everything. In 1888, Pemberton died. He never saw what his creation would become. He never knew that his small pharmacy drink would one day become one of the most recognized beverages on the planet. But for Candler, the story was just beginning. Candler was not a scientist, not an inventor. He was a strategist, and he had one clear objective: to make Coca-Cola the most famous drink in the world. By 1891, he had bought out the other investors. He became the sole owner. Still, the company was small. Coca-Cola was sold in only a handful of pharmacies. It was far from a global empire. But Candler understood something revolutionary. If Coca-Cola was going to succeed, it needed more than taste. It needed identity, visibility, desire. He did not invent the product. He invented demand. Slowly, deliberately. Candler transformed Coca-Cola from a simple drink into a lifestyle. His marketing strategies were bold for that era. Unconventional. Risky. And yet they worked. His most powerful idea? Free samples. Candler believed in a simple principle. If people taste it once, they will want it again. So he did something that seemed almost crazy. He gave it away. For free. He printed hundreds of thousands of coupons. A free glass of Coca-Cola. He placed them in newspapers, in magazines, on busy streets. He sent salesmen to pharmacies and soda fountains, asking them to serve Coca-Cola at no cost. At first glance, it looked like a loss, but it was not a loss. It was an investment. Within a few years, millions had tasted Coca-Cola. They loved it, and once the habit formed, they were willing to pay. By 1900, 1 in every 9 Americans had tried Coca-Cola. Think about that. 1 in every 9. Candler had done something extraordinary. He did not just sell a drink. He created desire where none had existed before. And this was only the beginning of Coca-Cola's rise, from a small pharmacy experiment to a national, and soon, an international sensation. Branding everywhere. Asa Candler understood something most businesses failed to realize. If you want people to remember your product, they must see it again and again and again. Repetition creates memory. Memory creates trust. Trust creates habit. So he made sure the name Coca-Cola was everywhere. On clocks, hanging on walls, on calendars, inside homes and offices, on notebooks carried by students, on billboards painted across buildings, on store signs, in small towns and growing cities. No matter where people looked, they saw the words, "Drink Coca-Cola." This kind of aggressive marketing was revolutionary. It was one of the first times in history that a consumer product was promoted with such intensity and such consistency. And it worked. By 1895, Coca-Cola was being sold in every state in the United States. But something even bigger was about to happen. The Coca-Cola bottle. The beginning of a legend. In the early years, Coca-Cola was sold only in soda fountains. If you wanted a glass, you had to visit a pharmacy or a small shop. There was no portability, no convenience. Then, in 1899, 2 lawyers from Tennessee, Joseph Whitehead and Benjamin Thomas, approached Candler with an idea. They wanted to bottle Coca-Cola. Their vision was simple but powerful. People should be able to buy it, carry it, drink it, anywhere, anytime. At first, Candler doubted the idea. Bottling did not seem important, but eventually he agreed, and he sold them the bottling rights for just $1. Another small decision that would shape history. Soon, bottled Coca-Cola became even more popular than the soda fountain version. The drink was no longer limited to pharmacies. It became mobile, portable, scalable. But success brought a new problem. The first bottles, were simple, easy to copy. Competitors began creating similar drinks in similar bottles. Customers became confused. So, in 1915, Coca-Cola introduced something iconic, a unique, curved bottle shape, designed to be recognized even in the dark, even if broken, on the ground. It was not just packaging, it was identity. The famous contour bottle became one of the most recognizable designs in the world. Created to defeat imitators, but while Coca-Cola was rising, a rival was quietly being born. In North Carolina, in 1893, a pharmacist named Caleb Bradham invented a new drink. At first, he called it Brad's drink. But in 1898, he renamed it Pepsi Cola. Bradham admired Coca-Cola, but his strategy was different. He wanted to offer a drink, more affordable, for everyday people. At first, Pepsi was not a serious threat, just another soda in a growing market. But history was preparing a turning point. Then came the Great Depression. Between 1929 and 1939, millions of Americans struggled. Jobs disappeared. Money became scarce. Coca-Cola kept its price steady, 5 cents per bottle. Pepsi saw an opportunity. Instead of lowering the price, Pepsi doubled the size of its bottle. Twice as much soda for the same 5 cents. For families trying to survive, value mattered. For the first time, Coca-Cola faced serious competition. Many customers switched to Pepsi, more for less. And this was the beginning of one of the most famous rivalries in business history. Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. A battle that continues even today. There was another chapter, one surrounded by controversy. For its first 40 years, Coca-Cola contained small amounts of cocaine derived from coca leaves. At that time, cocaine was legal. It was believed to have medicinal benefits, to reduce fatigue, to relieve pain, to improve mood. But science evolved. By the early 1900s, doctors began warning about the dangers. Public pressure increased. In 1904, Coca-Cola stopped using fresh coca leaves and switched to spent leaves, from which most of the cocaine had been removed. By 1929, the drink was completely cocaine-free. Yet, the company never loudly promoted this change. It remains one of the most debated chapters in its history. By the early 1900s, Coca-Cola was no longer just a beverage. It had become a symbol of American culture, a symbol of refreshment, of optimism, of modern life. But if Coca-Cola wanted to become truly legendary, it had to think beyond America. It had to cross borders, enter new markets, speak new languages. It had to become global. And that next move would transform it from a national sensation into a worldwide empire. In 1919, Asa Candler made a decision that shocked many people. He sold Coca-Cola for $25 million. At that time, it was a fortune. In today's value, it would equal hundreds of millions. People asked, why would the man who built Coca-Cola into a national success walk away? The answer was simple. Candler was getting older. He had already achieved what many believed was impossible. He had taken a small pharmacy drink and turned it into a household name across America. But he did not want to manage the company forever. He wanted time. time with his family, time for philanthropy, time for a new chapter of life. There was also another reason. World War I had just ended. The global economy was unstable. The price of sugar, one of Coca-Cola's main ingredients, was rising sharply. Costs were increasing. Uncertainty was everywhere. Running the company was becoming more complex, more risky. Candler believed this was the right moment to exit. So he sold, and a new era began. Who bought Coca-Cola? A group of investors, led by Ernest Woodruff. Unlike Candler, Woodruff was thinking beyond America. In 1923, he became president of the Coca-Cola Company. His ambition was clear, bold: make Coca-Cola available to every person on the planet. But this was not the modern world. There were no advanced global supply chains, no international logistics systems, no digital marketing, no fast cargo airplanes. The world was disconnected. If Coca-Cola was going to become global, Woodruff had to build the system from the ground up. And he focused on three powerful strategies. First, local bottling. Instead of shipping finished Coca-Cola from the United States, he established bottling plants inside different countries. This reduced costs, improved freshness, allowed faster distribution. Coca-Cola would no longer be just an American export. It would be produced locally around the world. Second, cultural marketing. Woodruff understood something critical. People connect emotionally with brands that feel familiar. So Coca-Cola's advertising was adapted to different languages, different cultures, different traditions. The message stayed consistent: refreshment, happiness. But the presentation changed to fit each society. Coca-Cola did not feel foreign. It felt local. Third, strategic placement. Woodruff made sure Coca-Cola followed people wherever they went, to factories, to rail stations, to tourist destinations, even to military bases. Soldiers drank it, workers drank it, travelers drank it, and wherever they went, the brand traveled with them. The strategy was simple, in theory: be everywhere, for everyone. Under Woodruff's leadership, Coca-Cola stopped being just an American success story. It began transforming into a global empire, and the expansion had only just begun. By the 1930s, Coca-Cola had entered many international markets. It was growing, expanding, spreading beyond American borders. But it was not yet a dominant global brand. That changed with war. In 1939, World War II began. American soldiers were deployed across Europe, across Asia, across Africa, far from home, surrounded by uncertainty, living with fear. They missed America. They missed familiarity. They missed comfort. And Coca-Cola saw something powerful. Under the leadership of Ernest Woodruff, a bold promise was made. Every American soldier, anywhere in the world, should be able to buy a bottle of Coca-Cola for 5 cents, no matter the cost, to the company. To fulfill that promise, Coca-Cola built bottling plants near war zones, in difficult environments, in unstable regions. Logistics were complicated, resources were limited, but the mission was clear. Supply the soldiers. This was not just distribution. It was emotional positioning. Coca-Cola became a symbol of home, a taste of normal life in the middle of chaos. Millions of soldiers drank Coca-Cola during the war. They built habits, emotional connections, loyalty, and when the war ended, in 1945, those soldiers returned home. They kept drinking it, but something even bigger had happened. As Coca-Cola established bottling plants across Europe, across Asia, across Africa, to serve American troops, local populations were exposed to the drink. Curiosity turned into demand. By the end of the war, Coca-Cola had entered more than 44 countries. It had used a global conflict to accelerate global expansion. The brand was no longer just American. It was international. But the rival refused to disappear. While Coca-Cola was expanding worldwide, Pepsi-Cola was struggling. During the 1930s, Pepsi had nearly gone bankrupt. It lacked Coca-Cola's marketing power. It lacked distribution strength. For decades, Coca-Cola remained the undisputed king of soft drinks. But Pepsi was patient, and by the 1970s, it was ready to fight differently. In 1975, Pepsi launched one of the most famous marketing campaigns in history, the Pepsi Challenge. The concept was simple, brilliant, aggressive. In shopping malls, in public spaces, Pepsi organized blind taste tests. Participants received 2 unmarked cups. One contained Coca-Cola, the other, Pepsi. They took a sip. They chose their favorite. The results shocked the industry. In many tests, a majority selected Pepsi. Pepsi turned this into advertising gold. Commercials showed real people choosing Pepsi in blind tests. The message was clear. It's not about reputation. It's about taste. This was not a price war, like during the Great Depression. This was a flavor war. For the first time in decades, Coca-Cola was on the defensive. Pepsi had changed the battlefield. The Cola War was no longer just about branding dominance. It was about perception versus preference. And the competition was about to become even more intense. By the early 1980s, Coca-Cola was no longer untouchable. For decades, it had been the undisputed king. But now, Pepsi was getting dangerously close. Pepsi had repositioned itself brilliantly. Younger, cooler, more rebellious. It spoke to a new generation. Meanwhile, Coca-Cola was beginning to look traditional, safe, old-fashioned, and Coca-Cola panicked. In 1985, the company made what many consider the worst decision in its history. It changed the original formula. After nearly 100 years, Coca-Cola replaced its classic taste with a new version called New Coke. The logic seemed sound. Blind taste tests suggested many people preferred the sweeter formula. Executives believed this would win back younger customers who were choosing Pepsi. But they misunderstood something critical. Coca-Cola was not just a flavor. It was memory. It was identity. It was emotion. As soon as New Coke hit the market, backlash exploded. Customers were furious. They boycotted. They protested. They hoarded old bottles of the original formula. They flooded the company with angry phone calls, with letters. The public demanded one thing: bring it back. After just 79 days, Coca-Cola surrendered. The original formula returned under a new name, Coca-Cola Classic. New Coke became one of the biggest marketing failures in corporate history. But here is the irony. The disaster reminded people how deeply they loved the original taste. Sales rebounded. brand loyalty intensified. Coca-Cola had nearly destroyed itself. Instead, it strengthened its emotional connection. The War of Giants continued. The rivalry between Coca-Cola and Pepsi only intensified. Both companies spent billions on advertising, each trying to dominate culture. Pepsi leaned into celebrity power. It signed global icons like Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Beyoncé. Pepsi became flashy, modern, youth-driven. Coca-Cola took a different route. It focused on emotional branding. Campaigns like Share a Coke placed people's names on bottles. Its Christmas advertisements, featuring Santa Claus, became cultural traditions. Warmth, family, nostalgia. For decades, the two brands attacked each other through commercials, through competitive pricing, through sponsorship battles, even through lawsuits. The Cola War became legendary. Even today, the rivalry continues. Yet Coca-Cola remains the #1 soft drink brand in the world. But success did not protect it from criticism. Over the years, Coca-Cola has faced serious controversies. Health concerns. The company has been criticized for contributing to obesity and diabetes due to its high sugar content. Public health advocates argue that sugary beverages play a major role in global health crises. Water issues. In countries like India, Coca-Cola has faced accusations of extracting excessive groundwater, allegedly contributing to shortages in local communities. Plastic pollution. Environmental groups have repeatedly named Coca-Cola as one of the largest contributors to plastic waste worldwide. Raising concerns about sustainability, about responsibility, labor and legal allegations. In Colombia, the company has faced lawsuits and accusations related to alleged violence against labor union organizers, claims that have been legally contested, widely debated. Despite these controversies, Coca-Cola remains one of the most powerful and recognizable brands in history, admired by millions, criticized by many, studied by business schools around the world, a brand built on innovation, on emotion, on risk, on survival. And that is what makes its story unforgettable. The turning point of the 21st century. Coca-Cola had already established itself as the world's most recognized soft drink brand. It had dominated global markets, fought off Pepsi, survived the disaster of New Coke, and shaped culture through powerful marketing. But the 21st century brought new challenges: health-conscious consumers, environmental concerns, changing drinking habits. By the early 2000s, soda sales were declining. People were thinking more about sugar, about obesity, about diabetes. Consumers were shifting toward healthier alternatives. Coca-Cola had two choices: ignore the change or adapt to it. It chose to adapt. Instead of resisting the trend, Coca-Cola began expanding beyond soda. The strategy was simple. If people stopped drinking cola, they would still drink something. And Coca-Cola intended to own that something. The water market. The smartest move, Coca-Cola recognized a clear pattern. If soda consumption was falling, water consumption was rising. Rather than allowing independent brands to dominate bottled water, Coca-Cola entered the space aggressively. In 2002, it launched Dasani. Dasani quickly became one of the best-selling bottled water brands in the world. Then in 2007, Coca-Cola acquired Glaceau, the company behind Vitamin Water and Smart Water. The price, $0.1 billion. one of the largest beverage acquisitions in history. Now, even if consumers avoided soda, they were still buying Coca-Cola-owned products. The juice business. Buying strength. As soda declined, juice demand increased. Building a strong juice brand from zero would take years. So Coca-Cola did what it does best. It acquired leaders. In 2001, Coca-Cola purchased Minute Maid, a globally recognized juice brand. In 2007, it acquired Odwalla, a premium smoothie company. Though the brand was later discontinued, the move strengthened Coca-Cola's position in health-focused beverages. In 2009, Coca-Cola invested in Innocent Drinks, a European smoothie company that became extremely popular across the UK and Europe. The strategy was consistent. Do not compete slowly. Acquire quickly. Energy drinks. Entering a booming market. Energy drinks were exploding in popularity. Red Bull and Monster were dominating the category. Coca-Cola wanted a stake. In 2014, Coca-Cola purchased a 16.7% stake in Monster Energy for $2.15 billion. It was a strategic alliance. Monster focused on brand identity and product innovation. Coca-Cola leveraged its global distribution system to expand Monster worldwide. Coca-Cola also introduced Coca-Cola Energy, but competing directly against established energy giants proved challenging. Still, Coca-Cola had secured a powerful presence in the category. The coffee takeover, a billion-dollar bet. Coffee was a trillion-dollar industry, and Coca-Cola had almost no presence in it. That changed in 2018. Coca-Cola acquired Costa Coffee for $5.1 billion. Costa was the largest coffee chain in the United Kingdom, with thousands of locations worldwide. This move officially placed Coca-Cola into the global coffee market. It was now competing with industry giants like Starbucks. One of Coca-Cola's most genius strategies is brand diversification. Many people believe Coca-Cola only sells Coke, Sprite, and Fanta. But the reality is far bigger. The company owns more than 500 beverage brands worldwide. Pause for a moment and think about that. Coca-Cola does not just compete with other drink brands. In many cases, it owns them. You think you are choosing a healthier alternative. It might still belong to Coca-Cola. You think you are supporting a small, independent brand. Coca-Cola might quietly be behind it. The company has mastered the art of market control. From every angle: water, juice, tea, coffee, energy drinks, sports drinks. No matter which category you choose, there is a strong chance Coca-Cola profits from it. It is not just selling drinks, it is owning the shelf. And that is a different level of power. Coca-Cola's strength is not only in its beverages, it is in branding, it is in visibility, it is in global presence. Every year, the company spends billions of dollars to ensure one thing: its name appears at the biggest events on Earth. Since 1928, Coca-Cola has been a sponsor of the Olympic Games, the longest-running sponsorship in Olympic history. No matter which country hosts the Games, Coca-Cola is there. Billions of viewers. One logo. Constant exposure. Since 1978, Coca-Cola has also been an official sponsor of the FIFA World Cup, one of the most watched sporting events in the world. Football dominates in Europe, in South America, in Africa, and across much of Asia. By attaching its brand to the World Cup, Coca-Cola secures relevance. across football-loving nations everywhere. And then, there is the Super Bowl. Every year, Coca-Cola spends tens of millions of dollars on Super Bowl commercials. These are not just advertisements. They become cultural moments. They spark conversations. They go viral. They stay in memory. While many companies chase short-term attention, Coca-Cola invests in long-term dominance. That is the real strategy. It does not just sell a drink. It sells presence. It sells emotion. It sells familiarity. And by combining brand diversification with global sponsorship power, Coca-Cola ensures one thing. No matter what you drink, no matter what you watch, no matter where you live, Coca-Cola is already there. The Coca-Cola Company is not focused only on the present. It is engineering the next century. This is not a company that reacts. It anticipates. It analyzes. It positions itself years ahead of the curve. Here is where it is heading. AI-powered marketing. Coca-Cola integrates artificial intelligence into creative and strategic decision-making. AI models generate campaign concepts, analyze behavioral data, and detect emerging trends before they scale. Instead of relying on instinct alone, the company uses predictive analytics to stay structurally ahead of demand. Sustainable packaging. Billions are being invested in biodegradable bottles, refillable systems, and recycled materials. The company has publicly committed to collecting and recycling the equivalent of every bottle it sells, a massive operational promise in a world producing over 400 million tons of plastic annually. Long-term survival now requires environmental accountability. Expansion into alcoholic beverages. Through products like Topo Chico Hard Seltzer and strategic partnerships, Coca-Cola has entered adjacent alcohol categories. This is not random diversification. It is disciplined portfolio expansion into high-growth segments. Health-focused beverages. As consumer definitions of refreshment evolve, Coca-Cola is scaling plant-based drinks, protein-enhanced options, and functional beverages. The objective is simple: remain relevant, as wellness reshapes demand. Direct-to-consumer distribution. Subscription models and digital customization platforms are being tested, allowing customers to purchase directly. Fewer intermediaries mean stronger margin control and deeper brand relationships. Coca-Cola is not merely a beverage producer. It is an empire, a cultural institution, a marketing machine operating in more than 200 countries, serving roughly 1.9 billion drinks every single day. It transformed a 5-cent soda into a corporation valued in the hundreds of billions. It endured world wars. It survived the intensity of the Cola Wars against PepsiCo. It recovered from controversy and strategic miscalculations. Through every cycle, it adapted. It innovated. It maintained dominance. From a small pharmacy in Atlanta to global leadership, Coca-Cola demonstrates a foundational principle. Success is rarely accidental. It is structured strategy, disciplined consistency, relentless evolution. Think of Coca-Cola, not as a drink, but as a red thread woven through global culture, present at celebrations, sporting events, family tables, and corner stores. You may not notice the thread, but it is everywhere. Here are the lessons embedded in its rise. 1. Build a powerful brand. Coca-Cola never sold a liquid. It sold emotion, happiness, belonging, nostalgia. A brand is not the product. It is the psychological association, people attached to it. 2. Let competition refine you. When rivalry intensified, Coca-Cola did not retreat. It escalated innovation. Competitive pressure is not destruction. It is refinement under stress. 3. Treat failure as data. The launch of new Coke was a strategic miscalculation. Yet instead of resisting feedback, the company recalibrated and restored trust. Errors are not endpoints. They are information. 4. Adapt or dissolve. Markets shift. Technology disrupts. Consumer psychology evolves. Coca-Cola repeatedly recalibrated its portfolio and messaging to preserve relevance. 5. Think globally. It refused to limit ambition to one geography. Sustainable growth demands expansive vision. Coca-Cola's trajectory is more than corporate history. It is a blueprint for longevity. Operate with clarity, build with intention, evolve without attachment. Because the same company that once sold a 5-cent soda at a pharmacy counter now influences consumption patterns across continents. That is not luck. That is strategy executed over a century. And the architecture behind that rise can shape yours too.